guys, Yulia here. So today is a Q&A video. There are a bunch of questions piled up from a previous couple of videos, and I will start with the video about the path because there are so many questions and I knew I was not going to cover all of it in one video. The most common question was about the steppables. Question is, that looks so great. Let us know how it's looking when the greens start to flourish. What steppables are you planting? So I already ordered many different types that I'm going to start from seed, like Corsican mint, creeping thyme, Irish moss, Kenilworth ivy. And I also ordered a native steppable Antineria, which has beautiful silver foliage. And all of these seeds require different conditions. So we're going to start them together, and I want to start them from seed as soon as possible because I want them to be mature plants by the time spring comes. So definitely look out for that video. I also am planning on getting mature plants in the spring, maybe some leptonella. I'm not sure if I want to try ajuga. There was a question whether I've considered ajuga. I do have it in some other parts of my garden. It is not as aggressive in my garden as in some other people's gardens, but I just think that the foliage is a little too big for me, even the chocolate chip one, which has smaller leaves. So I'm going to stick with very, very low ground covers. I mean, I'm talking about 1 inch to maybe less than 1 inch tall. And the next question is about how many feet of pathway. It is 26 feet long, but it is winding pathway, so I would probably round it off to 30 feet. Here's some technical questions. Please, what crushed stone did you use for drainage support purposes? Seem to have a gray-green hue. Those were step 1 and step 2 paver base from Home Depot, and I will put links to that in the description down below. I did not like the step 1, which was that green kind of hue material. The fraction of the gravel was a little too big for me, but the step 2 was ideal. It was a larger fraction sand that you use on top of step 1 paver base to finish things off and to put your pavers on top of it. It is very easy to work with. It drains really well, and you can set your stone on it very easily. You can compact it easily. It is very even. But you can also use crushed gravel or QP or quarry processing. There are a lot of things that you can get at your local stone yard, or whenever you buy stone, they usually would sell it together with it, so you can just ask the people who work there. Another question is, could you tell us the type of pavers used and where you purchase them along with the sand? The sand I already addressed. By the way, don't use play sand. Play sand is way too fine for this application. But as for the stone, it's kind of a long story, but 3 years ago I got half a pallet of stone from a local Facebook marketplace. Somebody was building a veneer wall and they had a lot left over, and I thought I could use it as a path in my garden, which we did. We installed it in the back of our garden. I just wanted to experiment and see how durable it was going to be. It was incredibly durable. My husband and I use it all the time. We roll things over it and walk on it all the time. So the idea came to mind that I could use some veneer stone for this path here, and I thought I matched the colors, but I really didn't. But that's totally fine. I actually really love the color of the stone that I used for the path. Veneer stone is definitely more expensive to buy because it is treated on one side, totally flat, to be installed on walls. But you can use field stone, you can use flagstone, you can use bluestone. There's so many different varieties of stones. I used a supplier, our local supplier here. Again, I will put the link to them in the description down below. There's another stone place that I use. It has huge selection of stone. It is amazing. It's like my favorite place in the world. I can walk there for hours, look at different stones. And as I mentioned in the video, the thicker the stone, the more stable it is. So that veneer stone was anywhere from 1 to 2 inches in thickness, but it is also from a granite family. And anytime you use anything granite, that is going to last for quite a long time. More questions about the path. Can you roll a wheelbarrow over it without cracking the stones? Yes, it's a very strong stone, and I don't know if you remember in the video, I actually used 2 stones as a ramp without any support underneath, and I was rolling my gorilla cart full of stone over it, and they did not budge. If there was anything wrong with that stone, they would have just cracked so easily. But also, if you set your stones correctly, if there are no air pockets and everything's compacted really well, and if you pick the right stone, you should not have any problems with stones cracking. Could you do a video on French drain or rock river to redirect rain? I fortunately don't have that type of drainage problems in my own garden, but we definitely had projects where we had to do swales and run pipes. So if I have any projects coming up that have these type of situations, I will definitely try to film it. If a tree stump is killed by using stump removal solution, will the dirt cave in that area? Yes, but it will do it very slowly. But even if you use a stump grinder, the soil will cave in no matter what. And my solution to that is usually slowly start adding topsoil to that area and compacting it slightly to replace the decomposing matter. And I actually am going to start doing that with my stump starting in the spring. It looks like it's always been there. Great job. How do you measure the grade? Thank you so much. This was actually my ideal outcome. I wanted that path to look as natural and as organic as possible, almost like it's been abandoned path for a while. And I think once the steppables are planted and fill in, it will look even better, and like you said, like it's always been there. But as for the grade, I was trying to explain it with my hands, but it didn't work, so I'm going to use my iPad here. So basically, if you're building a path or a patio in a flat area like this, you can put 2 stakes both sides and have a string with a level on top. It's your level. It's a very rough drawing, as you can tell. So for every 10 feet, you need a difference of about 4.2 inches. So that is about 2-degree slope. And that slope is barely visible in to a human eye, but it is enough to make sure that the water drains away and does not stand on your path or patio. Next question is, it's really pretty, maybe the stones are a little too far apart, ankle breakers. I did that a few years ago and ended up redoing. Now the way I set the stone and the sub base is completely level or just a tiny bit above grade for those steppables when they come in. At the end, it will feel like a solid path. And if you set the stone either higher than grade or lower than grade, that definitely creates a tripping hazard, which I do not want here. But I did ask my husband to walk on the path many times back and forth. He has abnormally large feet and is also very opinionated. So if he is uncomfortable, he would definitely let me know. But he said it was very comfortable to walk on. Now, fun fact, in some of the Asian gardens, they create these paths with uneven or rough stone, so people stop and pay attention and actually pay attention to their surroundings. It's a little trick that they do in Japanese and Chinese gardens. And I think that is such a beautiful lesson that sometimes we just too rushed into doing something instead of just taking the time to enjoy the garden. But this path is definitely not that, because we do use it a lot, so I wanted to avoid tripping hazards. So it is very safe to walk on. Next set of questions is from the Garden With Me video, which I posted before the path video. And the first question is, what is your planting zone? I leave all of my plants in and they come back next year. I'm in Florida. So I'm definitely further north than where you are. I am zone 6B7A, and although we do have dahlias come back sometimes, although last winter none of them came back because the winter was so cold, I still prefer to dig up dahlias and store them somewhere else, because when I leave them in my perennial beds, as my perennials start to fill in, the dahlias are still so tiny that when they start to come up, they're very scraggly and weak. So that is one of the reasons why I like to dig up the dahlias. And another reason is that I plant them in new locations every year anyway, so I just dig them up. And as for the elephant ears, none of them come back. They just turn to mush in our winter. The next question is, when I try to dry amaranth, the seeds drop all over the place. How do you avoid this? Yes, they drop seeds all over the place. So what I do is just place newspaper or an old sheet under them. And then after a few weeks, after they drop all of those seeds, I have a ton of free seeds of amaranth. I spread them all over the garden and then they come back next year. You guys, my seeds arrived. Oh my God. Okay, so that video is going to be coming out sooner than I thought. What bulbs are you going to plant soon, and have you ever tried growing dahlias from seed? Shockingly, I planted all of my bulbs already, and I think the reason is because I only planted 300-ish tulips, I think 2 bags of alliums, some daffodils, and some snowdrops. So not many. There was a couple of years back where I planted, I think it was almost 2,000 daffodils in one fall. That was intense. But the beauty of it is that they come back year after year and multiply and provide that beautiful display. So not many bulbs, but I think I'll have a decent display. Have you ever tried growing dahlias from seed? Yes, I tried it again this spring. And they grew beautifully. They germinated really nice. They grew very healthy. And then I placed them in the garden for hardening off. And then I forgot about them. And I think I found those pots at the end of the summer. They were still pretty healthy and actually formed tubers, but they never bloomed because they weren't planted in the ground, so they didn't have enough nutrients to produce flowers. But you know, it is what it is. Things happen, but I will try it again. I got some books here because there was a question on native stuff. Do you have any recommendations for book encyclopedias on natives? I would love to have a good go-to book with all of our Northeast native plants. These are just a few books that I've referenced as I design my native gardens. And there are other books like this by Doug Tallamy, Bringing Nature Home. This is more talking about the ecology of native plants, but these books are plant lists specifically. And this one is very, very local to me, Plant Communities of New Jersey. And if you're trying to restore a specific area, let's say a hemlock forest, this will have a plant list ready for you. Now, these 2 books I love. They are by the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. I don't know if they are in print because I bought them forever ago. And as you can see, I use them a lot. There's all these tabs. Great Natives for Tough Places and Native Alternatives to Invasive Plants. Great books. And this one is a beautiful book. This is Native Plant Primer by Yuli Lorimer, and he takes most of these photographs himself, and they are just stunning. This is another very regional book, Guide to Native Plants of the New York City region, which I am considered part of. I'm only 12 miles away, so I use this book a lot as well because it has plant lists as well as the individual plant descriptions. which is, can you believe there's so many beautiful native plants? There's another book, Native Plants of the Northeast by Donald Leopold. I can't seem to find it anywhere in my book library. Maybe I gave it to someone to read, I'm not sure. But it's a great, great book, great reference, and great photographs. A couple of questions on mountain laurels, and I'm going to wrap this up. This is getting a little too long. Can I heavily prune a mountain laurel that has gotten very scraggly with only few leaves on the ends, very few branches? I would not prune, again, more than a third of the plant. They do reflush very easily. So I have done a rejuvenation pruning on our very mature mountain laurel in front of our house, and it starts to break buds very easily in the spring. I would prune it in the spring either before or after bloom, but remember, if you do prune it before, it will recover better, but you will forgo bloom for that season. Do all mountain laurels flower? I'm in zone 6B and mine don't. They're very pretty, but no blooms, and I don't prune. So my initial reaction was maybe deer was getting to it, but it doesn't seem like the deer or you are pruning it, but the deer can be an issue, which kind of boggles my mind because the plant is toxic. So they probably create some sort of GI tract situation for the deer, and they would avoid it eventually. So if it's not deer, does it get enough sun? I know I mentioned that mountain laurels are more part shade to shade plants, but they actually bloom better in a little bit more sunny location. Another thing could be fertilizer. I noticed when I don't give my mountain laurel, the very mature one, fertilizer, it doesn't bloom as well. But when I add some hollytone, the following season bloom is unbelievable. I hope I covered most of your questions, and the seeds are here. So the next video will be planting the steppables, so look out for that. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for your questions and for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.